Okay, so I thank Larry for his time. I just need about 10 minutes, I think, here. But we had one more submission of a Wayside exhibit from Katie, and I wanted to make sure she had the opportunity that everybody else did to get it reviewed. So this is her panel, and she chose the forest. So if you have any comments. I like that she separated out this whole other section here on the far right about more of the cultural and the people history, whereas the left side, the majority of the panel is about the natural history. And I see a lot of intellectual information here. So I'm wondering if maybe the emotional side of things could have been fleshed out just a little bit more. And she brings the history of the Polish botanist. Any comments from the group?
That's great, because we should commemorate that person.
Right.
There is still a place in Lagodekhi which consolidates the plants which he brought with him. It's the endemic ones, so they are preserving it, this place. And I also like this idea. Okay, we could work on this further, but the idea of this level, which shows, and you can put the distribution of different vegetation at different levels.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. What you'll see.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good to have a photograph. This is especially helpful that people that are coming for the first time, if they can see a photograph of what this critter looks like and what this bird looks like, then when they're out there on their walk, they'll have an idea of what this thing is. I like the background here. When you use a photograph like that, she did a nice, it's called a screening, where you desaturate the image, so you just have a ghost of it. And so the main thing is to just be careful with text, that there's enough contrast between the text and the background.
Andrea, just one comment to your comment. Be careful with those ghosts, because of the Lagodekhi is full with ghosts anyway, so no need to put in the panel one more.
Seriously, we'll have to talk about that when I get there. Okay.
But one more thing from my side, if I may. So I like that this kind of presentation does not makes my sight or vision to relax, kind of to become lazy. Do you mean do you understand what I mean? So
no, can you?
I need to switch on my intellectual kind of capacities as well. So which is good.
Yeah.
Makes me to think about.
Right. And possibly, rather than the ghosting, do a lighter panel in the back here, a little rectangle here, to tie this together and, tie these together. Then that would get to your point, George, that you would have a color to unite that grouping of information, maybe make it a little bit easier to read. But for a first time, I think this is a great job, and thank you for submitting this, Katie. I don't know if you're there. But what I did,
Andrea, I'm sorry, I just had one observation. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you for the feedback. It was like really done in short time. So, and I don't even know the animals that I put there. It's just for showcase.
Right.
My main idea is to show kind of that is a living organism, the forest, and like what kind of organisms live there, and how it also affects the lives of people, like communities. So, but I did not express it well. Thank you so much.
Well, I think you did express it well, and the assignment was to do a concept. So the fact that these animals might not be there, that's fine. It's a placeholder. Like I said, even if you just do a stick figure on. So when we're doing concepts, it's just getting the stuff down. It's that stick man, that straw man, just getting something then that we can then change and manipulate and evolve into what we want in the end. But what I did, and mine is also a stick man, but I thought about, I love this photograph and I can't wait to meet this gentleman again. He was just so kind. I call him the gentleman of the forest. And tell me again his name, Pata.
First name is Vaja.
Vaja, yes.
Yes.
And
A ghost.
yes, he was, I guess, a former superintendent there, but I just
Yeah.
love this.
Long time.
Yeah.
He was the one who really was a leader of the transition from Soviet era Zapovednik type of areas to the modern categories that I introduced in Georgia, and he worked well with me. We converted him from Soviet thinking person to the forward thinking modern guy. So he's an important person. So he played a
All
great
right.
role.
Well, I thought I could bring honor to him, and I'm not saying we have to do this. I'm just thinking the way I would think in this situation. I love that his arms are behind him. He's looking down, he's contemplating, and he's heading into this beautiful space. So this was just something I wanted to do to give you an idea of how I would think about this. And again, this is very Park Service looking. I have a bias, I admit it up front. And of course, it needs a lot more refinement, but I think having some sort of band or banner or something, again, it doesn't, I'm going to sneeze, hold on. Excuse me. It doesn't have to be a black band or, oh, goodness. It doesn't have to be, you know, again, the Park Service
bless.
design. Thank you. I just throw that out there as a possibility. I think every place we do anything that's non-personal, whether it's publications or waysides, we should have the logo. I understand there's even a newer logo, so it's important you do your branding, and that on everything you do within this park and within the parks in general should have the logo on it. And so, you know, here I was looking at an emotional connection, some sort of poem or quote, whether it's something famous that's out there or anything that would kind of get people thinking along the lines of the emotional connections. Any comments?
Andrea.
Yes.
So I find it interesting that both Katie's and yours use the forest as a background. And it starts to talk to me essentially about what Lagodekhi, what the environment is there. And obviously if you're there at Lagodekhi, you know, you'll be surrounded by it. It'll be much more obvious, but it strikes me as interesting that you both, in a way, took the same approach. Hers a screening, yours a photograph, but both very similar. And those to me just scream out what we were talking about a few days ago, the term that I threw out about forest bathing, literally just sort of stepping in and immersing oneself into the forest. And I also like Katie's, the big picture forest of stepping into it, but then there's these close-ups of the animals and, you know, bird, lizard. I think it's a lizard. It's a little hard for me to see. So I just starting to get that whole forest feeling. I like that. I think it's kind of getting at the essence of where you are. I think that's a good thing.
Right. Well, thanks for the comments, Sandy. I think too, I would like for the designers to think about, you know, starting to come up with some sort of branding and graphic identity. Again, the National Park Service uses a color band at the top. It provides a great contrast for the title there and a place for the logo. And in this case with different partners, we might want to list the partners there too and give them recognition for the project. But it's just my approach. It's just one idea, but I just throw it out there. And then I took another format for the same thing, and this would be an introductory panel at the trailhead. And there may be several, 2 or 3 of these together. And, you know, this would have, just like Sandy was saying and what Katie did, some animals or some close-ups of what you're about to see. And then this would be a trail map, which of course we don't have yet, but just an idea of, excuse me, just an idea of what some possibilities are. And the other thing was the goat. And I just love this goat. I just love that he's come back, and I had asked several people if they knew of any illustrations, because one of the panels, and I don't remember who it was, mentioned kind of the folklore about this goat and that he was a symbol of freedom, but I couldn't get any research on it. There was nothing out there. So that's something the design team might want to get a jump start on, because there's so few cultural things related to the trail, and this idea of folklore and symbolism of strength, the fact that the goat has come back and the webcams have picked him up, although mostly from the back end. But, you know, what the symbolism of his presence there. I just show again the other panel that, who submitted this? I forget now. Whose was this?
We did our group, NCG, Nature Conservation.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I like this approach too. I just think it's probably a bit busy. And if you look at something a little bit more simplified, you know, remember it's the 3 seconds, the 3 minutes, no, the 3 seconds, the 3, I forget what the numbers are. The most was the 3 minutes they're going to look at something.
Yes.
And, or 3 seconds, 30 seconds, and 3 minutes.
3:33.
Yes, thank you, George. And so if something is simpler and kind of narrowed down, boiled down, it just makes it a little bit easier. So again, I just throw this out there as a possibility. And then from the stuff online is when I found, you know, this original two-tone green band that I just, again, threw out there as another possibility. But I just wanted to give you my thoughts, and of course here having the stuff about the red list and the endangered species and the different species, but keeping this one fairly natural, scientific, and maybe another panel next to it with some imagery and maybe a story or whatever about the mythical goat. Sure.
Andrea, question?
Yes.
So in the band, the green band at the top in this photograph, is that the logo that you've kind of blended in there?
Well, this was done by someone else, whoever did the brochure. And yes, they had taken the logo, and you could see the peaks here that they
Right.
they exaggerated from the logo.
Yeah, I like that. Just a comment.
Yeah.
I that's a interesting touch to carry the logo into the banding.
Yes.
And I just like that.
So when we get there, we'll see what the current logo is, because you said it's changed again, Pata?
Say it again.
The logo, this is not the current logo, or this is?
No, that's current one. It's the
Okay.
last one.
All right. So this one does have the looks like dark blue and the green peaks, and then like you said, they carried that into this. So again, it doesn't have to be a black band, but I think it unites it together. And remember, if we go with black frames, that's going to be a border around the sides. And also just a little tip to the designers, I will get you those grids, but you have to leave room for the frame. The frame is going to overlap by at least 1/4 inch. So that's why the gutter here is a little wider than the other gutters, because the frame's going to come along the top. Okay, I won't take any more time unless there's any other questions. Again, these are just concepts, these are just ideas, but I did want to share them with you.
Just maybe quick, not comment to your display, but kind of referring to our yesterday discussion. If you go to the previous, this is the walking path as it usually looks in Lagodekhi, at least in the lower part, in the forest part. So that's how it looks for those who have not been there. So it's about 2 meters. It's
And that's where that photo was taken, not in the exact spot of the trail, but it was taken in Lagodekhi.
So that's maybe for Lali to visualize it.
Right, right. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Larry.
Okay. Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate that. And good evening, everybody. And this has been a wrap up the design and construction of the trail. And I appreciate you all hanging in there. I know this is pretty technical, and I just don't know how to make it any other way. So, I'll take questions as we go, as we've done in the past. So. Let's see. I don't know exactly what happened there, but let me try it again.
There you go.
All right. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Too many things on open on my. Nope. Okay. Okay. I have no idea what's going on now.
Larry, are you looking for the drawings and specifications presentation?
Yeah, I've got them. I don't know why the screen's black. That's what my screen's black. Is your screen black?
We just see everybody's individual
Yeah,
boxes, Larry.
Yeah, I don't think you're sharing yet.
Okay. Well, I'm not being able to get out of this screen. So, Ethan, I may drop out and come back in.
Okay, that's fine. Andrea, do you have anything that you could discuss with the audience in the interim for the next 5 or so minutes?
I just wanted to mention I have to leave at 11. I have to get in town for an appointment. So I just want to thank everyone again for their time and attention. I know this was a long draw for all of us, and I'm glad to have a little break now. And I'm going to start packing because in 2 weeks we'll hopefully be there. So do any of you have any other questions? This is a big project. It's got two very, very different elements. We have the interpretive, more abstract. Remember themes? Should we talk about those again, or wait till I get there?
I think I'm ready now. If you want me to
Well,
go there.
I think they'll be happy
ahead.
because I was going to make them come up with a theme. So go for it, Larry.
All right, here we go. Let's try this again.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, finally. Sorry that was so crazy.
Okay.
So we're gonna try to, I guess, marry the field work that we saw yesterday with the construction documents that are needed to actually put out a contract or a tender for a project. And I'm not sure exactly how you're going to do it, but I still think you need some construction details and some drawings and specifications. So that's kind of what we're going to go through in this section pretty quickly. First of all, I wanted to talk about.
Larry, can you make a little pause? Auditorias მოგმართავთ ახლა. არის დღეს ისეთი ვინმე ვისაც თარგმნა ჭირდება? ამას მეტი დრო მიაქვს ამ თუ გეკითხებით. თუ ყველა ინგლისურენოვანი ხართ დღეს, ვინც ესწრებით, მაშინ აღარ დავხარჯავ დროს ამაზე. არის ვინმე ისეთი, ვისაც ჭირდება თარგმანი.
Okay, so we talked a little bit.
Wait. I'm just asking because of my guess is that Today we have an audience with English speaking only. So we will not be wasting time on our translation. I'm just asking if there is
Okay.
anyone who would require the translation. I am still waiting to hear back.
Okay, I'll be patient.
თუ არავინ არ არის, მაშინ გავაგზავნებთ მარტო ინგლისურად. ხანდახან ჩავერთვები კომენტარს დავაკეთებ. Please go ahead.
All right, so are you going to translate or not?
No, I will be just commenting time to time, maybe in Georgian. That's it. You can go ahead.
Okay.
And we will save
All
the
right.
time.
Okay, so we showed some pictures of writing in the field book, and I just wanted to do a little more deeper dive into what that was going to be all about. The example I'm using is an old example from Guadalupe Mountains National Park in West Texas, and in the mid or to late 1970s and early half of 1980s, there was an extensive program to develop horse and hiking trails in Guadalupe Mountains, and so during that period of time, it's about a 10-year period of time, there were a lot of construction projects there, and I think they developed a good system, and that's kind of the one that I've borrowed and that I'm teaching in this class. To go to the grade books or the field books, this is give you an example of kind of what you might be writing in the field book, and it's a suggested template. You can develop your own style if you want. You can, the things to note are, obviously the stationing that we talked about yesterday, the grades of the trail itself, the side slopes, and the grade type. And I point this out because there's no legend for us coming kind of cold into this. We don't know what the note taker intended with these notes. Now, we're going to see later on that what they mean is that there's very little excavation required to construct this trail with the 0, and the M is medium, so there's a medium amount of work involved and in this area. And then in terms of clearing, how much vegetation clearing and grubbing, this is very light all the way through is L for light. And then note the tread, because sometimes the tread width may change for whatever circumstances that you're involved in. And just to go back on grade, so I've been using through my presentations the term grade and slope interchangeably. So basically they mean the same thing. But you can see over here in the notes, the book that you will be using for this has grid, so you can draw sketches and things also. But here are the notes about what occurs at these station 1 plus 34, and it's a bench that kind of crests and starts going in a different direction. So here you can see how I just showed this because you can see how there's some dip in the trail that we talked about, important to get water off the trail. So there's a dip here at station 8 plus 20, but he's showing that there's a grade from 8 plus 00 to 9 plus 00 of a plus 8%. So it's 8% climbing trail, no side slope, not excavation, light clearing, 24-inch trail, and just other notes as he's going through here. Let's see. I did note here that he started changing. There was a change in the grade, and instead of 100 feet in this instance, he went to 85 feet. So a little less, and that's okay, you know, depending on what you run into in the field. So this is a translation of the field
Larry,
book.
may I have a quick question, please?
Sure, George. You want me to
Again,
go back?
Yes, yes. If okay. So just once again, because I remember we were talking, for instance, about 30 feet or some 30 meters or something, right?
Yes.
Measure, kind of putting these stations. Kind of, for instance, what exactly this 9 plus 8, 5 means? 9 is the ninth.
Yeah, well, 9 is
pile
the
or something?
900. It's 985 feet.
Feet, okay.
This is all in feet, and I did sort of a draft of what your book might look like that I'll show in just a little bit.
So then it's not about the stations, it's about the kind of distance to the place which is observed, which is under observation. Is that correct? Because yeah, that's where I'm lost a bit.
So you
Yeah,
were
was
broken
a
up. I
little
don't think
bit
I heard what
confused.
you said.
Yes, I was a little bit also confused about the numbers.
Okay.
So I also understood it as the number 8, 9 were the number of the stations, and
Yes.
class 20, for example, is like 20 feet from station 8.
For instance, right? Like,
Yeah, I
also
also
understood like that.
Yeah, and remember, we dropped the zeros on the 8 because it's just too much to write on the flag. So the 8 means 800.
Right.
So it's 820 feet for the 8 plus 20. So it's 800 plus 20 more feet.
Okay, let's move and then we'll let me think about it. Yeah.
Okay. And so the 8% of grade is between 800 and 900 feet. And so let's see, 9 plus 85, I was gonna look at, so here's a graphic representation of the notes, and we started at 800 in the book, so it's right here for the profile. So this is what's called a plan and a profile sheet, and this at the top is a description of the topographic features from the field book. So that's written down. This section is tread width, and then the next is the side slope. So it records all this in this, and this is as if you were walking along the trail. So this starts at 0 plus 0, 0, so 100 feet, 134 feet, and it proceeds on to, there's a construction feature here of 6 stone barricades that are needed in here. And then the book, what we were seeing here starts with 800. Whoops. So this is where this section is what we saw on that page. And also note that we have a horizontal scale this direction, and we have a vertical scale this direction in vertical. So the vertical scale, and this is all in feet, you know, yours will be in meters, and I'll show you an example of what I think yours is going to look like later on, but they use 10 feet here to kind of exaggerate what the trail is so you could see what's going on. And then they do have a legend here that shows water courses, switchbacks, left. This would be a left one. So if you're walking along here, I think I have an example of that later on. So yeah, you can see the water courses here. And then if you go down, you can see there's a graphic representation of that. Any questions?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Larry,
Yeah.
just to make it clear for me again. So let's
That's
say
what we're
we
here
have like,
for.
yeah, let's say we have a 10-kilometer trail, 10
Okay.
kilometers. So we want to take all these measurements. So we are measuring every 30 meters of the 10-kilometer trail and making
Yes.
notes. Like
Yes.
30 meters. Wow. So it's
Yeah.
a very long procedure, right?
Well, and that's why we use the clinometer, because it really doesn't have to be that long. You know, I mean, it's not like you'd have to go out and set up a tripod and put a theodolite on and level the theodolite and take measurements. You can do this pretty quickly. And that's kind of why this system was developed. But if, you know, you're giving this information to a contractor to build a trail, it has to be pretty, you know, you have to give them a good idea of what you want being done. So it's, yeah, it's kind of involved. You can see in the lower right-hand corner that there are 30 sheets for this trail. And I don't know how long it is, but anyway, it's this set of drawings is 30 drawings sheets, and this is only sheet 3. So, okay.
So, what you showed us yesterday, we are doing the same thing, right? That you showed
Same
us
procedure.
Same
Yeah,
procedure for all that, let's say, as I assumed, like, let's say 10-kilometer trail. We are doing that until we finish it, right? In every 30 meters.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
correct.
you know, the only magic part of 30 meters is that it's a pretty good distance for using the kind of equipment we're using for the handheld clinometer, because if you get longer distances, it's hard to see, especially in a forest, you know, where there's a lot of trees and shrubs and brush. So I think 30 meters is a good distance.
I understand. But as we discussed yesterday, we can use our GPS to to record, and the GPS will actually, the recording of the trail will basically show us this scale that you are presenting us now. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. And please ask away. That's why we're here, is to discuss this, because this is pretty technical. So another, I wanted to show this because here's what happens when you get sloppy in note taking. And you can see they stopped taking. Let's go back. So here we have side slopes, grade types, clearing, tread. Here he stopped with side slopes. So no grade, no clearing, and no tread are mentioned. But you do. I also wanted to point out that this does allow you to make a sketch if you have a switchback. This is called a switchback right. So the trail's coming this way and turning and going this way. You can make sketches in your field book, and that's perfectly encouraged, actually. And let's go back. So the switchback was at 7260, and on the drawing, here's 72 and 60. And if you look up here, it says switchback right. So remember, we're moving along the trail from left to right. This is RKEM, so it's a rock excavation mass. In this case, this is a mountainous area. It's steep side slopes, a lot of rock. And so this is a big deal on this particular trail. You're not going to have that situation at Lagodekhi.
Not in that trail, otherwise we can have
No.
steeper locations
Yes,
for
not-
big country trails.
Yeah, but not here. So this another one, sort of the notes, and see, you can see they started. They don't have anything across the top again. They got tired, but here's the point about this is that if you don't keep good notes and you get back to the office to draw these up and create a drawing like this, and you don't have good notes, then it requires you to make another trip to the field to get the information that you should have gotten in the first place. So you need to be very disciplined about your note taking and make sure you get everything necessary so that you don't have to make repeat trips to the field or unnecessary trips, what should be unnecessary trips. So this is just an example of what we saw in this field book with station 107 plus 70 and oops, sorry. So 10770 is right here. And you can see this trail is very steep. It's a backcountry trail, and there's some rock excavation in here again on this trail. So, and you can also see up here the tread width. They changed the tread width to 36 inches for some reason. And I'm thinking it's because of the steepness and the fact that we're going down into a drainage probably and coming back out, although there's no water course symbol up here at the top. So this is what I think your field book's going to look like. And this is very neat because I did it on the computer, but you know, you're going to do it by hand, and we're going to start off with 0 plus 0, 0. And as I suggested, I would say that we drop the 0 on the 30 meters because toward the end we'll have too many letters to be able to write that on the flags, and we'll know that that's 30 meters when we do the drawings. But so you know, this one I'm saying the side slope, I think at Lagodekhi, it looks like the side slopes are going to be pretty gentle, so maybe 2% slope. We might have a 5% grade. The tread, I'm saying 3 meters, but if you come up with 2 meters or whatever, you know, you could write it in here. You could use an arrow to indicate that that's consistent all the way down. And you could also, I'm looking, remember at the stations where we put the wayside exhibits, I'm suggesting we do elevations and coordinates at those locations. And you want to say we're going to install wayside exhibit, and you may want to be even more specific. You might want to just say which wayside exhibit you're installing, and it's going to be on the right side of the trail. You also, at the beginning, I think Pata tells me, and from what I can see on the grades, the beginning elevation is going to be around 560 meters. And so I think on the first page, you should take an elevation and the coordinates to know what they are for station 0 plus 0, 0. And then I encourage you to do a legend for grade type, whether it's heavy excavation, medium, or light, and the clearing required, and also heavy, medium, or light HML. You can just put those in here for those. And so what else? Okay, I think we talked already. I think, you know, if you're going to have 12 wayside exhibits, it's pretty easy mathematical equation to figure out how far apart they should be. But I would try to keep those pretty evenly spaced, not rigidly, but you know, keep them. You don't want two right on top of each other, right next to each other. So. So I'm moving on to plans and
Larry, before you move on, any questions? Zviat, თუ რამე კითხვები გაქვს, მაინც არ მოიტოვოთ, ეხლავე დასვით თუ რამე ვერ
Yes. Can we go to previous slide?
This one?
No, one slide more. Yes, here. So my first question is, what does it mean? So on the grade that we see here, in the middle there is a vertical line, and there is some symbol in between of them. So
this line right here.
Yes, that one. Yes. What does it mean?
So you can see over here, this is 6,900 feet above sea level, and 6,900, and this is 40, this is 6,950. So they got off the scale.
Yes.
So they broke the scale and they came down here and started with 6,950 down here.
Understand.
So
yeah.
From here this way.
It's like that, but now it's clear. Yes.
Yeah.
And,
okay, and they
also,
did it again over here. Because the scale is, I mean, so steep.
Yes. And my second question is about that steepness. So this grade describes the actual situation on the trail. So let's say that 12% of grade is too high, let's say. So we want to make some excavation works on the trail, and we want to put it down to like 8%.
Okay.
So so as you said, this is for the contractor to make the works there.
Yes.
Do you provide them the other version, so to say, how after the work the trail should look like? Because it describes the actual situation. It does not describe what you want to get eventually after the works from the contractor.
Exactly. So what you're making for the contractor, there are let's see. So you're making a package, and part of the package will be these drawings, these plan and profile sheets that we're looking at right now. Another piece of the package will be details, sketches, and I'm going to show you. Well, we've seen some instances, but don't know if I've got any more today. We'll see. Anyway, you'll have details of the kind of work that you want the contractor to do. So if there's a lot of, if there were a great deal of excavation, which, you know, you try to avoid, but if that happens, you would show a picture, a sketch of heavy excavation and what the trail would look like in that situation, and what the back slopes would be, and the fore slopes, and whatever. And then you have written specifications. So you have a section of just narrative telling them what that means. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So so you have drawings, and you have details, and you have specifications, and then you have a cost estimate or price guide that they can estimate the cost of the work. And I'm gonna show you that.
Larry, just a moment. Zviad, what you're seeing so far, that's a baseline survey that shows you the situation on trade. And then you're developing the design I think this was your question, right? That again, that shows the baseline, what is on the trade. And based on that baseline, you're providing the kind of pre-design information to develop the design, some tasks for the design.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So what we want to came up with after the project will be finished. So basically what our contractor should do with this information. And also, Larry, my last question is again about this.
მე მგონი ეს არ არის ის რაც კონტრაქტორმა უნდა გააკეთოს. ეს არის არსებული
არა,
სიტუაცია.
ეს არის რეალური სიტუაცია და ამის მიხედვით
ამის მიხედვით დიზაინერი პროექტს გააკეთებს, რომელსაც მერე უკვე მისცემს დიზაინ. იმას
გია, ისე კიდე ეს არის ფაქტიურად წინა საპროექტო ანაზომი. როდესაც შენ და ველზე აკეთებ ანაზომს ზუსტად და აქედან გამომდინარე ისმება მე ამოცანები. მაგალითად არის დახრა დიდი, ხო? ზვიად. იმ დახრაზე switchback-ები რო ახსენა რა, ეს ცნობილი ამბავია რა, რომ ამით ვაგდებთ დაბლა პროცენტს რა ამ დახრილობის, ხო? ასე ავდივართ არა, მე ასე ვთქვათ ამ ეგრეთ წოდებული სერპანტინებით, ხო? ანუ ეს ამოცანის დასმისთვის გჭირდება ეს ზუსტად ვიცოდეთ ადგილზე ვითარება, ანუ საწყისი პრობლემა პრობლემებით.
And one last question. Can you again? It's just to make sure I understood it correctly. Like you said, again, this like 0 plus 0 0. So there is a number 72 plus 60. So what is the actual number of this? 7,260 feet.
72 plus 60 would be 720. Well, whoa.
72,060 then.
Let me go back. Let me go back to
72 will be 7,200.
Here's 72. This is not 1,000. This is, oh, it is 72,060.
Yeah, like
yes, this right here.
260. So how to read this number? So what will be the 72,060?
Yes, that's correct.
That's what it means. Okay.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Now I understand.
All right.
ამ იმებზე სტეიშენებზე რო ქონდათ კითხვა გაარკვიეთ?
მე დავასრულე.
And this is going to be 10,770 in your field book, the 107 plus 70, right?
Okay, Larry.
Okay. All right. So moving along to construction details, I did not show a lot of well, actually, I didn't show any construction details, but well, I've shown you some as we've come through the presentation, and there are more, but this website, and I will send you a copy of the bibliography that has this link in it. But there are the Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service has developed I don't know, there must be 6 pages of construction details, and they're in AutoCAD. So you can go through that and find the construction detail that applies to your various situations. And so instead of trying to show all of them to you, I just would encourage you to go to this website and look at the details.
And Larry, you said that this is an AutoCAD or some PDFs or too.
No, they're in AutoCAD
Yeah. Okay.
already. So you can, and they're to be used. You can download those as you need, and whichever ones are applicable to your situation at Lagodekhi.
No, it's for the ordinary public to look at. That's what I'm asking, because AutoCAD is a professional software. No, not everyone would have that. That's my point.
Go on.
Yeah, continue. Please.
Okay.
This was just.
Or Larry, would this be a good time to take a short break? What do you think? Because this is some heavy stuff. It's your call. You're the facilitator. I asked that because it's 12 o'clock. And so that's why I mentioned, because we usually take a break on the hour, but it's up to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me go one more section and then we can take
Perfect.
a break.
Okay.
It's not very long. So the plan and profile drawings, which we were looking at on this Forest Service website, there are templates. These templates are available, and you can download these templates to use. And I encourage you to do that. So here's where you would put your trail, and then this is the plan view of everything. These are called plan and profile drawings. And here's what I think yours would look like. If we start out at 0 + 0, 0 with 360 meters, and I'm just hypothetically saying 5% grade to station 3 + 0, 0, 7% grade to station 6 + 0, 0. And I would go in 5-foot increments or 5-meter increments, sorry, rather than the 10-foot that were used before. I would say 5 meters. I think that will be sufficient for your purposes. And you could get 450 meters on a sheet, right? Zvayed, are you with me?
Yeah, I understood that.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. All right, let's take a 10-minute break.
450, because in previous example, after those numbers, for instance, 33 + 0, 0, we said 3,300, not 330, right?
Well,
Or
in your
I can't see the
situation,
last
we're using 30 meters.
45. Yes.
So we're just dropping the 0 in the 30.
So the last, the 45 + 0, 0.
450 meters.
Meet 450 or 4,500. Because 45, 0, 0, right?
No, just 1 0.
1, 0.
So
Then
30 meters.
last,
these are 30
then in the last
meters
example, it was
stations.
not two zeros there. Yeah, okay, yeah. Then
So, Larry, in this case, so when you are doing this, you are deciding like if it will be what will be the scaling here, right? So in this case, it will be 30, but it might be 300 as well, right? It's up to us how we decide how many zeros we're gonna add next to it, right?
Well, I think, this is based on, remember what you're getting in the field book and your notes from the field book. So you want this to be as close to the same information in the field book as it can be. And you're limited by the use of the clinometer to only be seeing about 30 meters at a time. So you're just working in 30-meter segments. So I think that's the scale you want to use. You want to make this horizontal scale. Each one of these breaks, these areas, 30 meters.
Yes, it's clear. Yeah.
Okay. And this will give you enough detail to, to build a good trail.
Okay, Leo, let's have a break. Otherwise, people will be tired.
Okay. This is this is where we left off with the plan and profile sheet example. The next part of the package will be the specifications. And this is the written, the portion of the documents that define administrative requirements, the quality requirements for products, materials, and workmanship. And what we use in the United States is the Construction Specifiers Institute. And there's a web page for that, but I warn you, you have to subscribe to that. So there's a fee, and there is a better alternative for trail work. And that is this source from the Forest Service again. They have standard specifications for trails at this website. And they have, here's an example. Whoops, I'm sorry. Why don't I just play this for you so you can see it? This is a list of all the different specifications they have for trail work, and they have an equally extensive list of details. So that we talked about before the break, but you can see this is very comprehensive. Different types of construction details, and they have drain dips and switchbacks, turnpikes we talked about earlier, puncheons down here, retaining walls, gates, cattle guards. You probably don't have cattle guards at Lagodekhi, but and for signs and bridges. So it's an extensive list, and you can download all of those and use whatever applies to your particular project. And then kind of finally, in terms of the package put together for bid documents would be the contract price schedule. And this is available from the National Park Service. It's the one the Park Service would use in the United States, and it's downloadable. If you'd like to use that, I can send you the link for this. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Would that be useful?
Yes, please include this in the reference.
All right, I will include that in my email. And finally, thank you for sticking through that. I know that's tedious, but it's a part of the work of getting good trails constructed. So let's see. I want to.
Larry, sorry, could you please for a second show me the budget template?
Sure. Hold on just a second, George. I'll navigate to that.
Sorry for that.
That's fine. It's okay.
The lump sum, what it refers to?
Lump sum means everything. So
no, I know what lump sum means, just the geothermal wells. So instead of
lump sum, this is for trailhead development.
Well,
first item.
No, lump. What do you mean first item? This is geothermal wells, optional. You can construction of geothermal wells. There is a lump sum. So you don't need the detailed prices for constructing the wells. That's what it means.
This means, this is, well, let me just use the example that we're using. So we had some pictures yesterday of what a trailhead looked like. So there was a big
For instance,
sign area, and there were lots of signs on it, and there was a bench and some paving. And so what this is saying, for all of that, we're considering that just one trailhead development for one price. So the contractor would give us one price for all of that. So we wouldn't have a separate price for
okay.
for the structure, for the signs, for the bench. We were throwing that all into one item and having one price for that.
Yeah.
Is that understandable?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
So there is no need for more detailed budget.
Right. So we're not breaking those items out.
Excuse me, ეს არის დაშლილია ერთი ბილიკის სხვადასხვა კომპონენტიდან. აი ამ trailhead
არა, ვიცი პატა, რაცა ბიუჯეტების პეტი რა მიკეთებია კაცო. ლამსამია თქო რა.
ლამსამი მარტო trailhead-ს ეხება.
არა, რატო ქვევითაც geothermal wells-აც ლამსამი წერია და ველის გათხრას ბევრი რამე ჭირდება თქო მაგასო.
ხო და იგივე trail-ზე არის მე სიგრძივი ერთეული აღებული და ასე შემდეგ, ხო? აი მთელი ბილიკის შემადგენლობა აღებულია ზოგჯერ ლამსამი, ზოგჯერ არა.
Are we good?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. So I didn't go through these, but the trail, if you're going to have, let's say 2 or 3 meters, whatever it is, you have a 2 or 3 meter, let's say 3 meter wide trail for 1,500 meters. Then you're going to get a price, the unit price. He's going to tell you, how much per meter in the unit price area, and then you're going to multiply the unit price times the quantity, and you'll get the total price for the trail work. So that's how this works. In this previous example, you just have one price, one unit price for trailhead development. Wayside exhibits, you might have, let's just use a number off the top of my head. Let's just say it's 50 lari per frame. So you're going to have unit price is 50 in here times 12 gives you a total price for the wayside exhibit frames. Okay? Yes.
Let's move further.
Okay, so we understand all that.
George is happy with that, so we can move.
I'm happy with George is happy. That's all right. So so we're gonna no. So it's our final segment. It's late in the day, it's late in the presentations, and it's pretty short and sweet. For construction, just briefly going to talk about the tools and maybe some of the methods. So just very briefly, this is just an example of a trail under construction. You can see this would be referred to as the bench across the bottom. The back slope, this needs to be what we would call dressed. So it needs to be smoothed out with a rake. We don't like this ridge because that causes erosion. So we'd like to have that rounded off a little bit more. and then revegetate it, so this doesn't continue to erode. Here's some of the tools, and kind of this is tools and process. The first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be clearing and grubbing. And Pata, do I need to explain clearing and grubbing? The grubbing is going to be grubbing roots and stumps of trees and things out of the work area, and clearing the vegetation off to build the tread of the trail. There's mechanized equipment that can be used to haul gravel materials or whatever tools to the site, because you know, as you build the trail, you're going to be further away from where the materials are stored. There are rock drills, these are gasoline powered pieces of equipment that can be used. Down here, they're using a wheelbarrow to haul some large boulders. And also here, there are mini excavators, so you don't have to do everything by hand. And then the tamping, this is a hand tamp, but over here, there's a plate compactor that can be used to consolidate the gravel with a little moisture. This little small rock crusher, sometimes you're on a site that has a lot of materials and you can make your own tread material by crushing stone that you excavate during the construction to build the trail. Just hand tools, common hand tools. Over here, some kind of pry bar that you can use to move rocks and things. A pick. This is a Maddox, a pick Maddox, the axe, shovels, loppers for pruning, shovels. This is an asphalt rake for, you know, smoothing down large areas, and some kind of a pruning saw. This is kind of a little folding one. But here's a cutter Maddox, which is different than the pickaxe Maddox. This allows you, this has got an axe on it, so you can clear things with this end and cut things with that. These are all tools that are used in firefighting, really, that are used also in trail construction. This is called a McLeod. Need a heavy duty wheelbarrow or more than one. And this is called a sand bit. Whoops, sorry. One of some products that could be useful depending on the situation. This is called a geocell or a geogrid, and it's an expandable item that you lay down on the ground and you fill it with gravel to make a stable subgrade for your trail, and it keeps the material in place so it doesn't wash out, and it makes your trail nice and strong. This particular example is 2 inches tall or 5.1 centimeters tall. They come in different heights, so you can make different, depending on your soil conditions, you might need something a little taller. This is a geotextile that is used sometimes maybe instead of this geocell, or sometimes with geocells, to keep the soils to have a firm foundation. And back to this, you've seen this before. It looks like I adjusted the slide a little bit, but this is a detail, an example of a detail. And remember, you're taking notes about the excavation. And there was heavy, H for heavy, and M for medium. And so you're going to note those in your field book, and then you're going to draw a detail of that situation of what those terms mean. And then you're also going to have a specification that describes that in detail. So This is,
so sorry,
go
Larry.
ahead, George.
Are there any kind of grids or dimensions or margins after which you called it heavy or medium or kind of say, for instance, after 20 degrees, you call it heavy or whatever?
In your specifications, there's a description of what heavy and medium means.
Okay.
And the specifications are used to describe these terms.
Okay. And usually what's the best practice for that?
I don't think I understand your question.
For instance, somebody, well, I'm going to examine that, right? And I see the steep slope and it is 20 degrees. So I'm putting heavy, right?
Okay.
Or there is, I'm putting some medium. When should I put medium approximately, and when should I put heavy? So where is the division between that?
And again, that's what you will decide, and you'll write a specification that explains that.
So there is no kind of.
No, there's no standard. It's kind of whatever applies to your situation.
Okay, thank you. I got that.
So I mean, this is a lot of excavation, especially if this is rock.
Yeah.
And if you're laying this back, that's a lot of work compared to this one over here, which is pretty easy. And the next one would be light, which would be almost no excavation, I would think. So it's just a description of how much work is involved in creating this bench for your trail. Okay?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure. So this is in Katmai National Park in Alaska. You didn't go to Katmai, did you, Sandy, on your trip? Sandy, we may have lost.
No, I didn't.
Sandy. Yeah. So this is a SCA, which is Student Conservation Association trail crew, and I very much admire them. In my experience in the field, we used SCA leaders and trail crews, and they were excellent. The trail crew leaders knew what they were doing and did a great job. These SCA are students in our high schools and early college generally that come out and work for this organization and spend the summer building trails and then go back to school in the fall. So they're using in the right-hand picture, they're using some kind of a geotextile material, a fabric, and they're laying some gravel on top of that. And they're doing that because of the soil is not the greatest. And this is, this is lightweight construction, so it doesn't have to be too heavy, but it looks like they have a nice thickness of gravel in there. So I wanted to mention, go ahead. Is there a question?
Larry, a comment?
Yes.
So one of the things we've learned in Alaska is the photographs that Larry has on screen here are very good. One of the things we've learned in Alaska is that if you put the geocell down just on very wet or boggy or meadow-like soils, within a couple of years, they'll just sink and disappear. So what Larry was saying about using gravel, if you're going to use these geocells, my advice is pay attention to what Larry just said. Do not put them down on the raw ground where it's very, very wet or boggy, because it may just sink into the ground later and disappear on you. So that's all. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, what Sandy's saying is that what you would do in that situation with a wet or boggy soil, you would put the geotextile down, and then you would put the geocell or geogrid down on top of this textile, and then fill it with the gravel. And you would have a trail that you can maintain and that will last a long time. Sandy also suggested, and I'd overlooked initially, as constructed drawings. So typically in the National Park Service construction work, as the work progresses, there are changes in, you know, what you thought you were going to do versus what actually gets done. Sometimes products change, techniques change, materials change, and the person that's kind of overseeing the construction makes notes of all those changes that occur in the drawings. And maybe you have to route the trail a different way when you get into construction. You discover it's a wetter area than you thought, and you had to move the trail. Well, you would make a note of that change and provide that at the end of the construction, or provide the park with all the changes that occurred. And it's really useful, particularly to the maintenance function in the park, to know what materials were used. So if they have to make a repair sometime in the future, they'll know what material or what products to use in that circumstance.
Wait, can I have a question?
Sure.
So, yeah, now how often do you use this geocell in a backcountry, or you don't use it at all?
In the backcountry, I think you'd probably use those if you were in a swampy area, a real wet area that the trail needed to cross, not where there's running water, but just where there's standing water, where water may not have good, may not drain very well through this area. And, but, it's a matter of degrees. If it's very wet, you might want to use boardwalk. But if it's just occasionally wet, then you could use, geocells or geogrid. Is that clear?
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Okay.
totally. Thank you.
Sure. So here's the bibliography that I'm gonna send to you, and you'll have a copy of that. You can see one of the things is this National U.S. Forest Service Standard Trail Plans and Specifications that we spent a lot of time talking about today. This is the home page for that. So you can navigate through and find the specifications, find the details and examples of the details, the CAD drawings and all in this at this site. And as far as the rest of it, these are good reference materials for constructing trails and designing trails and different situations. There's one I could not get a copy of it, but this trail tools and mechanized equipment's good. Also, another hand tools is a good resource, and I think they're all good resources. They're things that I referred to in putting this presentation together. And finally, I just some acknowledgments. Want to acknowledge some people that really helped me putting this together. Some friends of mine, Bruce Warnicki, is a retiree from the Park Service, and he's hiking almost every day in the Colorado mountains in the summertime. Clayton Frazier, also a retiree, played tennis with him. He's a surveyor. In his career, he surveyed for construction projects Hugh Osborne is a trail expert and laid out a lot of trails and helped construct those. Sandy, I appreciate your help and excuse me, with photographs and the sort of behind the scenes recommendations and suggestions. Mike Seibert works for the Historic Preservation Training Center for the National Park Service. And, you know, if you haven't been exposed to this organization, I strongly recommend you learn about it. They have a webpage and a short video of what they do, but they preserve and restore historic structures of all kinds. And Samantha Noon helped me. She's an archivist at the Denver Service Center. She helped me find some old photographs and the old field books. Pata, I appreciate working with you always. I know sometimes it's difficult, but you know, we come out the other end in good shape, and I consider you a friend and appreciate your work. Bob Steinholtz and Jack Dolan are both deceased now, but they are two guys that designed and constructed the trails at Guadalupe Mountains in the 1970s and 80s. And they were great friends and mentors. And then the National Park Service, the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, all land management agencies. The Park Service and Land Management are in the Department of Interior. And all three of these, you know, have a good trail program and lots of trails that they maintain, maybe not construct anymore, but are maintaining many miles of trail. So I want to thank all of you for your attention. I know some of this, especially towards the end, gets very technical. And I know it's late in the day, but I appreciate you sticking with it. And I want to wish Pata a happy birthday Saturday. And I'm sorry I'm not there to raise a glass of wine with you, but we'll take a rain check and do it in a few weeks.
Thank you. Thanks, Larry, for the excellent presentation. Just one note that this was not only the knowledge transfer. This is also about skills. That's why you hit technicalities in there, and then that was unavoidable. Again, that's kind of connected to the task of this presentation and then the training. Before I want to talk a bit of Georgian to the audiences. Is it okay, Ethan, and English-speaking audiences?
Unless you're saying something bad about us. Otherwise, you have to let us know.
This is about the next steps before you come.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we want to hear that too.
That's about yesterday I shared with you this